Are you a fan of pro wrestling, comedy, and combat sports? Then we have the podcast for you because we cover that and much, much more.
Do you like to debate with your friends? Do we have the perfect segment for you? It's the 531, where we take any given subject, break it down to a top 5. From there, we debate it down to 3, and then into that number 1 spot.
If you want to get a hold of us, find us on our social medias. Search Working Fans Podcast on any major social media platform. And if you want to find the podcast, search for us on any major podcast platform, as well as YouTube.
Working Fans Podcast. We put in the work so you don't have to.
Welcome back for another edition of Working Fans Presents Horror Business, and this is episode 28, where we will be talking the sequel to the Conjuring movie, The Conjuring 2. Now, when this came out, I was excited because I loved the first Conjuring, and I was excited to see where they were going to go with the second one. Now, this was also directed by James Wan, came out in 2016 with an R rating. 2 hours and 15 minutes, so a little longer. I found it entertaining, though. Budget was $40 million, and on the opening weekend of June 12th, 2016, they made $40,406,314. Now, the gross in U.S. and Canada was $102,516,140, while the gross worldwide was $320,834,351. Now, that is a lot considering this is the second one in the franchise, so they kind of built up that, that goodwill going forward. In this movie, in 1977, paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren travel to London, England, where single mother Peggy Hodgson believes that something evil is in her house. When Peggy's youngest daughter starts showing signs of demonic possession, Ed and Lorraine attempt to help the besieged girl, only to find themselves targeted by the malicious spirits. Once again, Vera Farmiga returns as Lorraine Wilson. Lorraine Warren. Patrick Wilson returns as Ed Warren. Madison Wolfe is Janet Hodgson. Frances O'Connor is Peggy Hodgson. Lauren Esposito, Margaret Hodgson. Benjamin Hay, Haigh, don't know how to, I'm just going to go with Hay. Billy Hodgson. Patrick McCauley is Johnny Hodgson. Simon McBurney, Maurice Gross. Maria Doyle Kennedy, Peggy Nottingham. Simon Delaney is Vic Nottingham. And that's the majority of the cast. I write down more people, but I tend to find that I'm reading off more names that aren't like central to the story. Basically, the Hodgsons are the family being attacked by the spirit in this one. And I thought it was a good sequel. It was very creepy. It helped expand the Conjuring universe because you see the nun that breaks off into a separate movie before we had the Annabelle doll that got their own movies. Now, the little bit where Patrick Wilson sings Elvis, the musical interlude, I thought was a nice touch. Gave it some levity because this movie is dark with, I believe the case is known as the Enfield haunting. And I like the English setting. Anything over in England, just with that accent, just the whole touch it brings to it. I thought it was a nice touch. This movie got 7.3 out of 10. And what's also a nice touch is those mid-show reads. Now, as always, we are brought to you by the Pro Wrestling Vault Volume 1 and Lance by Chance, both written by Vinnie Berry, available at WrestleVille.com. And all the following books I'm going to read off are available on Amazon.com, including Super Vows and Pas de Deux, written by friend of the show, Kevin Kelton. I'll Be Here All Week and All That's Left, written by Ward Anderson, as well as his stand-up special. Blood and Fire, the unbelievable real-life story of wrestling's original Sheik, written by Brian R. Solomon. How Not to Suck at Comedy, written by Pat Oates. And Matt Memories, written by John Arezzi and Greg Oliver. If you're an artist in Connecticut looking for studio time, check out the great people over at Connecticut People Records. And if you're on YouTube looking for something entertaining to watch, check out Dave and I doing some wrestling commentary for our wrestling commentary home of New Heights Wrestling. Now, some fun facts about this movie. James Wan was offered a life-altering amount of money to direct The Fate of the Furious. However, he turned that opportunity down to direct this film instead. He said, "I felt rejuvenated to tell a scary story one more time." And he put that on Instagram around that time. The remaining members of the Hodgson family visited the set. Frances O'Connor, who plays their late mother, refused to meet them as she feared it would affect her performance. Patrick Wilson did his own singing in this movie. One of the real-life allegations that wasn't featured in the movie was that the Hodgson children's toys were thrown around and were too hot to touch. This had the biggest opening weekend gross for a horror film in 3 years. The only previous film to do that was the first Conjuring. The real-life events in Enfield became the longest recorded paranormal case of poltergeist activity in history, according to star Vera Farmiga. During the end credits, at the part where the costume designers are mentioned, there is a split second where the Annabelle doll is shown. This is not the first time Patrick Wilson has a singing cameo. In fact, he is well versed in the art, as his previous role as Raoul in the Phantom of the Opera, which was 2004, was a large singing role. And then the last fact I'm bringing to you today is Bonnie Aarons, who acts as the demon nun, is also cast as the same demon nun in the Nun movie, where, I mean, if you're going to pull that character out, you might as well use the real person. And we are getting into our final little bit of Halloween movies because, I mean, it's Tuesday the 25th tonight. Tomorrow, the 26th, we've got The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It. Thursday, the 27th, we're doing Dracula, getting into those classic horror movies. Friday, the 28th, will be Frankenstein. Saturday, the 29th, Wolfman. Sunday, the 30th, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And then Monday, the 31st, Halloween night. We're going to have a surprise for you. I think I've got it figured out by now. I think you're going to enjoy it. We've done a lot of horror movies this month. And as always, let us know in the comments. Like, rate, review, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Tell us what horror movies you're watching. Are there any horror movies you want us to cover? Are there any fun facts we missed? Let us know, and we will address it, by Halloween. Any feedback we get will probably be done on the Halloween episode. So join us tomorrow night for The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It.